Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ryan Hollenbeck and I am a structural engineer in Texas. I graduated from Oklahoma State University with my degree in civil engineering. And if I had to choose one thing that changed the most throughout my 4 years of college, without a doubt, it is my note taking. I am a naturally very sporadic note taker. Whenever I take notes in class, I would always have a billion pieces of paper spread throughout different notebooks and binders. It was just notes that were not organized whatsoever, and it led to a ton of stress when I was then studying for tests days or weeks later, and also just doing homework in general. The complete game changer was when I got my iPad Air when I was a junior in college, and my notes drastically changed after that. I had a new organization technique, and it was due in part to a lot of the apps I was using, and I was finally introducing technology into my note-taking. And so if you're kind of experiencing some of the same issues that I just talked about with some sporadic note-taking and not a good organization technique, I would love to walk you through the process that I developed in my last 2 years of college that really increased my productivity while studying and doing homework. And I think that it could be a complete game changer for you. Because after I implemented this process, I became the person in my study group where everyone wanted to see my notes. And not only because they were comprehensive, but also they were so aesthetically pleasing and they sparked creativity in me and others. And so I would love to walk you through this whole process that I developed. So my first tip, regardless of whether you want to use an iPad or your laptop, is that you just need to incorporate some kind of technology into your note-taking. Because there are some very revolutionary techniques out there and some just great apps that you can use to make note-taking so much easier and more efficient. And I totally understand if you don't want to dish out the money for an iPad. It made the most sense for me because it combined the tactile ability of when you write notes down, it's so much easier to actually consume that information into your brain versus just typing things mindlessly. But I understand if that's not feasible for everyone. Combining that tactile feeling with technology, it is kind of expensive. So if you want to just use your laptop, one of the main ones I've heard about is Evernote. I haven't personally tried Evernote out myself, but I've heard some great things about it. But the main ones that I use are OneNote and Notion. I use Notion to write all the scripts for my YouTube videos currently, and I love its organization techniques, its folder method, but also its new AI capability, which if you are in a class that's more literary, you're taking bullet notes, you could take your bullet notes that are very short and to the point throughout your lecture, and at the end you could ask AI to sum up all your notes into a nice cohesive paragraph. And I think that's super useful. I use OneNote at work all the time just because it's kind of Microsoft incorporated, and so I can share notes with my coworkers very easily. And I also really like its organization system and kind of placing in screenshots very seamlessly from my computer. And I used it a little bit my freshman year of college because I had a laptop that I could actually write on still. And so that was pretty easy to use. But if you are going to be using iPad, which I recommend fully and wholeheartedly because it was one of the best purchases I ever made, I would suggest GoodNotes or Notability. Notability is a really great option if you have a professor that likes to kind of rant on a little bit in class, and then in their tests or homework includes some questions about things they verbally discussed during class that may not have been on a slide. I really suggest Notability because you can actually record lectures and then you can play them back later, and your notes will actually fill in live as the lecture goes on and you listen to the lecture. Of course, you need to get permission from your professor to actually record your class, but 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't have an issue with that whatsoever. But actually, the main thing that I used was GoodNotes, and that's because I just liked its organization system a little bit better. And I felt like I could be a little more creative while taking notes. It was a little more intuitive. And I liked its system of taking pictures and including it in notes, and just all of its tools were a little more what I needed in class since it was a little more problem-solving based note-taking. But I think both are excellent options, and I'm going to walk you through my process for taking notes in GoodNotes and also give you a short little run through of Notability. So let's get into that. So let's look a little bit about what my GoodNotes note-taking organization looked like. And this kind of shows one of my favorite things about GoodNotes, which is its file organization. And so this is like my fall 2021 semester. And as you can see, I have each of my classes separated into its own folder. And if I go into one, so this is my steel design class. And you can see I literally have most, if not all, of my lecture notes all in this folder for easy reference. And so say if I click on my first lecture, you can see I had incorporated all of the slides into this, which is extremely easy. So all I had to do was we used Canvas at Oklahoma State. And so I just had to export my notes into GoodNotes, which is a super seamless process. And then you just choose the folder that you want to insert the PowerPoint into. And it immediately makes it this editable PDF where you can write notes on it in whatever color you want. Obviously, gray is not a great option. So you can write notes, you can pick your sizes, different colors, you can highlight things super easy. One of my favorite things about GoodNotes is like drawing shapes is super easy. So if I was making diagrams, I can just quickly draw squares, size them however I want, and then I can just write stuff inside of those. I can just say like that's a diagram. You just draw lines, straight lines, however you want. I don't know, it's just super easy for drawing super seamlessly, because I know when I took notes originally on paper, I was always super deliberate about trying to get the straightest line I possibly could, but I can never draw a straight line. Whereas with GoodNotes, I can just hold it, straight line immediately, draw circles, ovals, whatever you want. It has like a little shade option on right now. That doesn't have to be on there. But basically what I'm trying to say is it's just super easy. And with the Apple Pencil, what's great is you can also switch between writing and your eraser by just between. Okay, so you can double tap your Apple Pencil. You go between erasing and writing, which is super helpful. And it just makes note-taking in class very seamless and quick, which I think, especially if you have a professor that talks really fast, being able to switch between things is one of the most important things. And so if I kind of go through here, you can see that I was highlighting things that popped out to me, and I was already 10 steps ahead of everyone else in class because 90% of them hadn't looked at any of the notes yet, and we're kind of just seeing stuff for the first time. We're probably trying to write down every single little thing they were seeing on the screen, whereas I already had everything laid out in front of me. And so I was already like 10 steps ahead of everyone because most people were trying to go through and write down every single little thing they saw on the screen on the PowerPoint, whereas I already had everything laid out, and all I had to do was pay attention to what the professor was actually saying. And 9 times out of 10, they're actually telling you what's important. It's just hard to listen and write at the same time. And so I could mostly just listen and then easily just highlight things whenever I wanted to if I thought something was important. And it makes the whole process so much easier. And so you can see also I can jot things down super easily. So I can draw little diagrams. This one was one of the messier ones I had, and then just write down little notes where I needed to. And I just felt like I was scrambling less in class to write everything down, which was super nice. And so this is why GoodNotes is my favorite option, just because it was super seamless. And then one of the best things is it's easy to add and delete pages and switch around. And it's also easy to send your notes to other people by PDF, image, send it through GoodNotes if they also have an iPad or something. And you can also just link it. You can also download GoodNotes on your computer or your phone, and you can access your notes wherever you want, which is what makes it so amazing. But this is Notability, which tried to use a little bit in school, mostly when I wanted to record things. So you can see here I actually have a recording that I can play. And if I play it,
This is something that I like last year, that was our problem. Totally different from what we are used to.
You can see, if I play it, you can see that the notes kind of populate as the lecture goes on, which I think is super cool. And it was really good if I was going through like an example class or something like that, where I needed to kind of follow along to what someone was saying if, say, a problem didn't make sense to me. I just didn't like the interface itself as much, but it may work really well for you, and so definitely go for it if you like Notability. I think it's also just still an amazing app and totally worth it. But yeah, that was kind of my process for using either one, and it's really just trial and error of what you think works best for you. So in the end, you kind of have this battle between physical note-taking and digital note-taking, and I fully understand if you cannot afford an iPad. It is definitely a luxury to have one. And although like buying notebooks over and over again for every single class every year, that does add up. Buying an iPad is still a huge investment, but it's one that I do not regret whatsoever. But that could be a major downside of taking notes on an iPad. But one of the great things about taking notes digitally, whether it is on your iPad or on your laptop, is you have all of your classes, everything you need, all in the same place. Whereas when I was taking notes physically, if I had classes going on all day and I couldn't stop back in my dorm or back home to kind of switch things out, I would have to carry 4 to 5 binders and a bunch of different notebooks and just hauling around this super heavy backpack all around campus. And it sucked. It was not fun whatsoever. But once I switched over to an iPad, that was the only thing I had to bring on campus, because actually in GoodNotes, you can download textbooks. If you have an online textbook, you can move it into GoodNotes and just have everything all in the same app, all in the same place, which is absolutely amazing. So you don't have to be constantly running home to pick up different things. You don't have to haul around a huge backpack. You have everything you need all in the same place. And you can even access things from, if you don't have your iPad, you could access it from a different computer. You just got to log in. You can send it to yourself super easily. So I just think the convenience aspect of digital note-taking is one of the best things about it. So if the price of an iPad just is way too insane for you, you can either try and look for some second-hand iPads, which might be a little cheaper, or you're probably gonna have a laptop at least. And so at least try using out OneNote, Evernote, Notion, one of those things, and try and get like a mixture of physical note-taking and digital note-taking, because you wanna try and use technology the best you can, because it can save you so much time. But I'm gonna keep using my iPad because I think it's one of the best things ever. Another thing I did mention is that I have a screen protector on my iPad called PaperLike. And so if you love the feeling of pencil to paper, and you just can't give that up, you can get the PaperLike screen protector, and it basically completely replicates that feeling. And I got that from the second I got my iPad, and I've loved it and never taken it off ever since. And it's great because it also just doubles as a screen protector, so you won't break your iPad. So that's kind of my little spiel about why I think that getting an iPad is just so amazing, and it definitely like changed my note-taking game the second I got it. So if you're one of those people who doesn't think that much about your note-taking process, who doesn't have a good organization structure set up, who's a super sporadic note taker like I used to be and still revert to sometimes, I definitely think that this video should have helped you out and given you a little sense of how technology can help you out. And just my biggest tip is use technology. It is here to help you. Writing pencil and paper should not be your only option anymore. And you can find some cheap, easy options out there if you just do a little looking. I mean, my favorites again are just Evernote, OneNote, Notion, if you don't have an iPad. If you do have an iPad, GoodNotes, Notability, I think that's just getting you set up, and it puts you so much further ahead of pretty much every other student out there. Once I started using my iPad, it was a complete game changer. Hopefully looking at my notes can give you a little inspiration on how you can get more creative with your note-taking, how to make your process a little more efficient, hopefully just making you a more productive student. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I'm gonna link that PaperLike screen protector down below, so please go check that out. I love it. If you have any comments about some different things that you used while you're in college, or any level to take notes, I'd love to hear it down below because I love trying out new things. But I really appreciate you guys watching the video, and I will see you guys next time.